I'm Denise Crosby, and this is the Shuttlepod Show. So Harvey Weinstein wanted it, would not
You made
want
Weinstein sit down and watch it?
Absolutely.
Wow, good for you.
For you.
Is this part of the naivete that you're talking about?
Yes.
Gonna go and do my convention thing. Got my costume, I'm going now. Yeah, we're having a ball. It's Star Trek, y'all. Hey, down the order. Beam me up.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Shuttlepod Show. Today we have very special guest, Denise Crosby. We'll be answering some more of your fan questions, doing some Star Trek trivia, getting onto Connor's remote island, and much more. As always, our Patreon members will get a full extended version of this show. I'm Erica LaRose, and now for our host, Connor Schneer, and guest host, Mark Cartier.
Yay! It's hard to believe that we have a little bit of sunshine. We've been having, what is it, a bomb cyclone or whatever they call that right now?
Sky River? Is that what they
exactly,
call it?
yeah. Yeah, so we have a brief respite from the weather and a bit of sunshine.
I brought it.
You think Denise brought the sunshine.
Thank you.
As always. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you. So far, 5 days into the new 2023.
Yeah.
That's right. We're in a new year.
Yeah.
Right. I know. I haven't quite felt as though I'm really doing all of my New Year's resolutions just yet. I'm sort of like easing into them apparently.
Well, that's funny because I lost 40 pounds.
Since
Since
the
New Year's Eve?
31st? What's your
I
secret?
didn't lose any weight.
Yeah, you did. Then you made pies.
Sure you did.
I did lose weight last year, yes.
Right.
A lot of weight. Mm-hmm. And then I made a lot of pies.
And then you made a lot of pies.
And I gained it all back.
That's right. How's Dash doing?
Oh, he's in a new feta cheese pot.
Yeah.
She's in the same feta cheese pot as last week.
As last week, but we're going to fix that.
Yeah, nothing but the best for
And
Yeah, we're kind of hoping to that our fans. Wash has more fans than any of us do, so we're hoping. And Wash is the avocado tree.
he's the sad avocado tree that needs a little bit of help.
in the feta pot.
Wow.
people are sad that he's not doing
Yeah,
very
so
well.
we're gonna invite fans of Wash to send in like sweaters for the pot or some sort of decoration.
You know, we should probably
pot?
make maybe T-shirts with Wash on it just for
Just the
Yeah.
dying avocado tree.
Yeah.
The avocado tree.
You might want to take him outside, no?
He's outside sometimes.
He spends
okay.
a lot of his life outside.
Okay.
He lives in space.
Oh,
Right?
like we all
Like where
do.
we are right now.
That's right. Okay.
We need something to put in our old pot, though. So if you guys have any ideas or if you want to send us a plant,
That's a good idea,
right.
actually.
And it was a really good home to Wash. Even though
Yeah.
he got a little sickly, it was because of probably me, not because of the pot.
Well, I have heard that if you put an avocado tree in a feta bucket, they thrive.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we're going to see.
Fetticado. It's a
Soon to be salad.
So, yeah. on all the latest menus.
That's right.
I'll have a fetticado, please.
I heard about it on the Shuttlepod show. Actually. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, we are once again here in the Bird's Nest at the Matrix Theater, being hosted by Rogue Machine Theater Company, and always grateful to them.
thank you.
We are beyond thrilled to have a dear friend on the show with us today, Denise Crosby, Tasha Yar from The Next Generation, and Tasha Yar's daughter, Celia?
Sela.
Celiac disease.
Celiac.
Celiac disease, Yar.
Can't eat gluten. Can't eat gluten.
Right.
How are you?
I'm so good. I'm really good. Yeah, just easing into the new year
Yeah.
myself. And, we're about to take a little trip, you and
That's
me.
right.
A nice little cruise ship.
It's right down the Baja. We don't have to fly.
We're going to mainland Mexico too.
We're going all the way down
yeah?
to Mazatlan, I
Right,
think, and,
right.
and then coming back. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that it's still going to be whale breeding season. So they take that whatever that Pacific Ocean highway is down in the I forget what it's called
The whale. The
whale highway.
Baby hospital.
Yeah, but you can they're everywhere.
Oh God, I
What
hope
is it?
so.
What is it
That
called?
would
A
be
pediatrician?
fabulous.
The Whale Pediatrician Hospital. Is that where you're born? Where are you born?
At a
I know you
hospital.
were born in a hospital, but isn't it called like a
Not-
certain
The children's hospital? The pediatric ward from a children's hospital?
Sure.
I don't know.
babies?
I can't wait for that. It'll
I
be fun.
I know. So that's kind of wonderful. And yeah, I've just been, hanging out with family and spending some holiday time. And,
Good holiday.
yeah, quiet,
Yeah.
simple, you
Right.
know.
Right.
It's kind of on the menu these days.
I totally agree. It's nice to also. We've had, oddly, in Southern California, a stretch of rain that I don't remember in at least a decade.
Years,
yeah.
years.
And it's nice to sort of like curl up with a book.
Yeah,
or
books,
watch some
movies.
TV and have the rain.
I
come
got
down.
some new slippers for
Right?
Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm breaking them in.
Comfort stuff.
Uggs.
Ooh,
all,
nice.
all cozy. All
I still need to
all
get some.
cozy.
So you're a rare person in Los Angeles in that you come from here.
I do. I was born in Hollywood.
Weird.
I know, Hollywood.
Yeah.
At the original Cedars. Speaking of where people, it was Cedars of Lebanon.
Where?
What? Really?
Yeah, and you know where it was on Fountain, which now is the Scientology building.
Oh,
The blue
Big
one?
blue
the
one.
big blue.
I did not know
I did
that.
I
not
was
know
born in that building.
Wow.
Wow.
You were either born there or Hollywood Presbyterian. I mean, those were the two hospitals.
Which is like 2 blocks away from there. Yeah.
Wow.
That's like sort of hospital village. You
Yeah.
know, there's children's, there's
Kaiser.
Right.
Yeah,
Presbyterian.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, all right there.
So did you
Do you want one?
you grew up in Hollywood?
I did, yeah.
Where?
So kind of in the, I think my mother's first place was on La Mirada, just off of Vine Street. We lived in this cool studio apartment that Dennis Hopper lived in one apartment, and Johnny Cash had just gotten out of jail and was
No
living
way.
in another
Oh, wow.
apartment. And then we moved on Cahuenga into like a little guest house from a very old, funky little guest house. You know, it was just she and I for
Right.
the first 5 years. Yeah. So she was, working hard, trying to make a living with a brand new newborn.
Sure.
A new little Denise.
How early on were you interested in acting or theater or anything like that?
So I think I was always playing around with it, like in even as early as elementary school. I remember narrating the Christmas play.
Oh, fun.
Okay,
Very cool.
so like you had all the singers, all the chorus on risers in the auditorium, and they were singing The Little Drummer Boy, and they were singing, Silent Night, and I off to the side in a kind of faux living room setting, Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Vine Street Elementary's Christmas pageant. And I had to narrate. I had to introduce each song, and then I had to recite "'Twas the Night Before Christmas."
Oh my God.
I had to memorize that. So that was my first monologue.
As a kid.
Yes, as a kid.
Ugh, I couldn't memorize that as an adult.
I probably still know it, but I won't bore you.
We're not.
It's past Christmas. Of course, I went through a rebellious period where it was my family trade. Obviously my grandfather, was Bing Crosby. And so there was a lot of assumptions that I would go into that, and it was like, oh no, I'm going to be
Anything but that.
I'm going to be so not that.
Right.
So I went through my punk rock, Laurie Anderson, phase
Right.
of learning music. I thought I'd be, a classical musician or something.
Really?
Yeah, I was studying classical guitar and classical flute.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, that went over real well in my household. I was still, living at home, and I had a stepfather by then, and he was just, what did we do?
At least it wasn't drums.
Yeah.
But you've told me some stories about, and I imagine this is before you really kind of got into the business, or maybe not. Like, you had a sort of a bohemian sense to yourself, and you would pick up and take off to Mexico.
Yes.
And just sort of live.
Yeah, I went through that period of as a young girl trying to find myself, and so I lived on a organic farm in Malibu for a year, in a little shack with my boyfriend, and that was after we came back from Mexico. Yes, we took off. So yeah, I told you that story. We
Bonkers.
we got a VW. Quintessential.
You got a bus.
We got a VW bus.
How cool.
Gutted it, rebuilt the cabinets, put a bed in it, got enough supplies, books, art, crayons and pastels and 2 dogs and the 3 of us, and we were headed to Costa Rica, an island off of
You, your boyfriend, and who's the third person?
my friend Dave, and 2 dogs.
Oh.
And we took off, and we really weren't coming home back.
Yeah.
Our intention. We
Was
got
to
into
just despair?
we got into a really bad car accident that precipitated coming back. So, but
And then you went back.
and then I had to leave. 1 dog died a couple days after the accident, but 1 dog I had to
Because of the
keep
accident, or?
because of the accident. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. The ambulance came to get us. We had flipped the car. I say
shit.
we, but the driver, we met this guy in Arizona who was kind of like a Svengali to us. And we were kind of under his sort of hypnotic state. He was teaching us things about food and diet, and we became, vegan before there was ever a word called vegan. And we were kind of entranced by this guy. He had this charisma, and he said, we invited him to come along with us. So he was driving, and I was sleeping in the passenger seat, and my boyfriend and Dave were in the back asleep. And the driver fell asleep.
Oh.
This guy we had picked up, and the van flipped head over, back over front, and I was knocked out, and I woke to being curled up like a snake in the, how you sit high in a VW bus, and you have like this footwell, and I was curled up on my side, and it was night, and the only thing that was illuminated was the parking lights of the bus, so it had this eerie golden glow. I thought I was dead
In the middle of nowhere.
in the middle of nowhere of the Sonora Desert. And the driver had been thrown, out of the car. Everybody was thrown out of the car except me.
Except for you.
Except me. The dogs were scattered. I had no idea where they were. My boyfriend had been thrown like through the double doors along with my friend Dave. They were somewhere across the highway.
Oh.
And the driver had a broken leg and cracked pelvis, so he couldn't move. And he had been calling our names for hours, thinking we were dead.
Oh, God. Oh, geez.
Wow.
And finally, I came to. I started yelling. Dave and Ralph, my boyfriend, came stumbling out of nowhere. All of Dave's teeth were gone. Ralph had a broken clavicle and a big gaping hole in his back. And we all I remember laying down. We laid flat in the sand of the Sonora Desert. And we were alive, but we didn't really know how bad it was. And dawn started to break, and a family started driving down the road and sees this wreckage. Our car was total. It's amazing anybody lived. And stopped, and they come running out. We don't speak any Spanish. They don't speak any English. But somehow we communicate. They said I could understand they were going to the city, and they would send an ambulance, and they did. And that's what happened. So the ambulance finally got to us. We all got into 2 ambulances. The dogs. The family said they would take the dogs.
Okay.
And gave us their address.
Okay.
Because we couldn't take the dogs.
Yeah.
And they were absolutely, they were angels.
This was in Arizona, or this was in Mexico?
This was in Mexico,
This was
in Sonora.
People are nicer in Mexico
Yeah.
than they are here.
Yeah.
That's true.
It was astounding. So one dog died, one I had to leave there so I could bring my boyfriend back whose spleen had burst.
Oh, God.
But we didn't know it then. So he and I took a bus from Hermosillo to San Diego and hitchhiked from San Diego to LA.
With a burst spleen. So your bus did it
the bus
drove
was
off
total.
the road into a power pole, into a tree, like
It just flipped. It just went off the
You were at
passenger
field
side
or-
wheels went off the highway and it flipped it. And so
it sounds like either the pilot or finale of a great TV show.
well, I'm writing this because I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's really it's kind of a testament to that time in the 70s. And, just imagine no cell phones, and there's a kind of, period of freedom and exuberance in a way. And that desire to go out and not be boxed in by the way you have been raised or this city or all of that, and all of us were going through that period in our life. We were,
and it's different now. One, you could feel as though, you know what, we're going to get a bus. We're going to go to Mexico and disappear. I don't think people can do that anymore.
No, and we're going to read Lao Tzu, and we're going to read, mystical books. We're going to dig deep down into our psyches. We're going to take hallucinogenics. We're going to trip out
right
to get back closer.
Yeah.
Now it's funny because I'm starting to read about all the medical uses that people are discovering with psilocybin. They're using, dosing or microdosing. And, it's
Even
not
acid.
surprising. Yeah. It's not surprising that this can unlock, certain things and dimensions. I'm not, all of a sudden, I'm sitting here promoting. Wait a minute, my acid is just coming on.
Yeah, hang on. Exactly. Give me 1 second.
Yeah,
second.
right.
This is
This is going to get really good.
Are you real? Are you real? Who brought a gnome? Who brought the gnome in?
Connor, you're melting, okay?
So did that create a change in you after having that experience? You're how old?
I was 18. It did. It was. You grow up fast. You're making choices and decisions really, mind-bogglingly intensely, and it took me a while to kind of get back here in LA and feel like I could be here because everything seemed so trivial and superficial.
Yeah.
After going, to that,
Having that freedom.
and having that experience,
Yeah.
But eventually, you kind of settle back into your place, and from there, I went like so far. 180 degrees, I started modeling in Europe. So it was like a whole different...
From being off the rails
From being
to
like,
being on a track.
Yeah, being, a hippie girl on an organic farm.
Dirty little hippie.
To suddenly being in London and Paris and,
Glam, glitz.
staying with the collections and, doing I was Terry Mugler's fitting model.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
For how long
Yeah.
did you do this?
That lasted about a year. I lived in London, and I didn't love modeling. I mean, I loved getting to Europe, on that dime.
Right.
But I, talk about a, degenerate meat market. I mean, there's no respect there. But
and you're hitting it in the 80s.
Yeah, it was like
when-
1980.
Right at it.
1981.
It's snowing everywhere that it doesn't normally snow.
Yeah, it was,
I know what you're
oh
talking
my
about.
God. I mean, and I was doing a lot of shows, fashion shows. And the guy that was doing my hair, he's now like the biggest hairdresser in London.
Oh, wow.
Nicky
wow.
Clark. I was in London a couple years ago, I think at that destination, Star Trek thing. And I was walking around London and I see this enormous, building in Mayfair, the really Tony part of London.
Yeah.
And it's Nicky Clark's salon. And I go, oh my God. I mean, he literally was living with his parents on the last tube stop on the worst line in London. And we would, with orange shag carpeting, and, he's now like Vidal Sassoon.
Wow.
So I went into the shop and I said, is Nicky here? And they said, no, he's not in today. I said, I have to leave a note for him. We're old friends. So, I write, Dear Nicky, I guess we did okay. Love you, Denise.
Oh, that's
And I that's all I did. I didn't want to, if he was there, it would have been great. But, I didn't want to drag this on. But.
So what brought you back? Just not liking it?
I think I came for Thanksgiving to see my family, and I said, I'm done.
Right.
I don't need to go back there.
And when did you start
Acting from there?
auditioning and
Not too long after that. I had done I had done Playboy, and not a centerfold, but a pictorial that was pretty racy. And again, it was my saying, up yours to my grandfather.
yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Totally. I've had enough therapy to know exactly what I was
Right.
doing. And I had, so this Polish photographer had seen me in a shop, and he said, would you ever think about doing Playboy? And I went, I don't think so. And he said, not a centerfold, but you have such a interesting look. Can I do some test shots with you? And I'm very close with the photo editor, Marilyn Grabowski, and blah, blah, blah. And I went home. I was still living at home, and went to my mom, and I said, is this, what do you think about this? I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. And my mother, opposite to what you think a mother would tell their daughter, she goes, do it. It'll be great. You'll be famous. I love it. Those girls do well. And I'm going, okay. So I think they paid me like $30,000 to do this, which was
Holy
huge
shit.
amount
Yeah.
of money. Okay.
Back then, yeah.
Back then.
How old were you?
20.
20. That's a lot of that
And
age.
20 or 21. Maybe I had to be 21. Okay, so I go with this Polish photographer. He takes me up to someplace in Topanga, which is like an animal sanctuary. It's run by this eccentric, millionaire who's got llamas and peacocks. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
you know
every
about that
one
place?
of those. Yeah.
So he's got like an amphitheater, and so he's got me in these like little frilly. I feel like little Bo Peep. Without a top on.
Right.
A topless little Bo Peep. I've got like crinoline. It's so not me.
Right.
So not me. And after the first day, I'm going,
What have I done?
what have I done? And do you know, I went to Beverly Hills that afternoon. I walked into Vidal Sassoon's without an appointment, without knowing anyone. And I said, cut all my hair off.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And they went,
You sure?
are you sure?
Yeah.
And I said, oh yeah, I'm real sure. And they sent me, I didn't even know the hairdresser. Sat down and I said, just buzz it off.
I was going to say, you could have just
And I
shaved
showed
your
up
head.
to the, didn't shave it, but
Yeah.
really like,
Yeah.
twiggy kind of haircut.
Right.
And I showed up at the photo shoot the next day without it telling anyone. I went, hi. And they went,
What the?
what did you do? What did you do? And I said, I just like it. And
I just made you
the
look good.
photographer went nuts. He said, well, we're done. We can't do this. I said, it's okay. I didn't like what you were doing with me. He said, well, we got to go to the Playboy building on Sunset. I got to show you to the photo editor, Marilyn. We go into this woman's office. She's like the buck stops there.
Yeah, yeah,
with
right.
all things Hefner. She takes one look at me
why aren't you shooting?
And she goes, Hef will never go for that. Hef will never go for that. There's no girls that look like you in the magazine. And remember, this is like 1980, 81,
Right.
where, hair for days and big glossy lips. And I looked like a boy, at that point. And there was a photographer there who had just come back from Europe named Philip Dixon. And he was one of their star photographers. His girlfriend was now a big cover model in Paris. And he looked at me. He happened to just be there taking a meeting, but he stayed. And he goes, no, wait a minute. I like the way she looks. And Marilyn goes, but Philip, this is not going to work in the magazine. He goes, tell you what, let's do some test shots. We'll show him to Hef, and if he likes it, we'll do a photo shoot. Yeah. We did some test shots, and they printed the test shots. We never even went further.
Never went back.
No. In that big, building on Sunset, Philip had a studio. We did some looks, some tests, and that's what they ran with. What we were going to do, oddly enough, we were going to go down to Mexico, and we were going to do these like kind of animal-like beach shots on rocks and very feline-like thing. That was his whole idea. But they went with the test shots, and so that's what came out in Playboy. This is a long way back to where I started acting. Okay.
Well, I was going to say, did it do anything for you?
So I'm in Playboy. I get a call. I'm still living with my mom, and I get a call, and it's Tony Howard. So she's a huge casting director. She tracked me through the magazine. They gave her my home number.
Because, that's what you do. Right.
That's what they did back. Well, obviously, it was Lynn Stallmaster and Tony Howard. They were partners, and they were the biggest casting people in town. She calls me up and she said, this is Tony Howard. I'm casting director. I'm casting a movie of the week for television called The Diary of a Teenage Hitchhiker. And would you want to read for it?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I went, sure.
Sounds like me.
Sounds like me. Yeah. I was that girl.
Yeah. Let me tell you a story about Mexico.
Yeah. They had already Charlene Tilton. Remember Charlene?
Oh,
Tilton?
yeah, Dallas.
She was the lead. And so they wanted to cast her friends, her besties. So anyway, I went into Tony Howard's office, never been to a casting person in my life, handed me a script, never seen a script before. She said, go take a look at this. This is the part. When you want to come back in and read for me, come back in. And I left, looked at it, called her up. I said, okay, I'm ready. Came back in, and she said, here's the thing though. Charlene Tilton has been cast as the lead, so they can't cast any of her friends over 5'4". She was very tiny.
Uh-huh.
But I like you. And if you study for some time, if you really want to do this, I'm going to write down 3 names of acting teachers. They're all good. You go check them out and study for a while, work on your craft, and I'll help you get an agent.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
and that's,
wow.
And that's how it began.
Did you feel, I always wonder what it's like for someone what the feeling that you had when you did your first audition. Did you feel like something sort of went, and I got it? Or did you feel like you had needed to learn more? Or did you have some intrinsic sense of what you were doing? Or did you not know well enough to even
identify it?
Yeah.
I didn't have like a eureka moment, for sure. That would come in as I started to work in class. Once I started to work on, really good theater pieces and scripts and plays, and felt the power that an actor can feel on stage.
Right.
I went.
Yeah. And succeeding in something that's a little more difficult than, I don't mean this pejoratively, but being the hippie hitchhiker.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I can't remember that script at all or that moment, but she was spot on with the 3 teachers. She pointed me in the right direction. And I started first with, she wrote John Lenn, Joan Darling, and Milton Katselas. And I ended up with Milton for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Right.
And that's
He's a legend.
That class I was in was extraordinary.
What technique did he use?
So he had been with Lee Strasberg in New York. And so it was a lot of what Lee was doing with method, and what Stella Adler would do with analysis, script analysis. And he would then try to kind of simplify it. Lee, the thing with Lee is very he would intellectualize a lot. Very, very smart man. And a lot of stuff would get complicated. Milton found a way to sort of put that through a filter that actors could just, grab it and make it work right then. And, simple choices, but, always the moments, truth, talking, listening, that kind of stuff.
The secrets.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
If you can do that, my God, it seems so easy, right? But so hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you do that you're here with him for 10 years. So you're working while studying.
Yes. Yeah. Starting to get work, starting to get, a couple guest things, working. I think the movie 48 Hours was one of the first things I did.
Right.
Yeah. Starting to get work, doing theater.
Modeling's gone.
Modeling's gone.
Yeah.
Modeling's gone. Yeah.
Still with the short hair?
Yeah. I just, it would go a little bit longer, but I would just come back to it. It was sort of like, and then of course with Star Trek, it stayed.
You had like the best hair. So you start, do you get any like recurring roles that you can start to sort of understand and sense what it's like to carry on a character for more than one episode?
Yeah, I did a couple pilots.
I love talking about the pilots. Yeah.
Oh, pilots.
Did you have any great ones that went absolutely nowhere? My first pilot, it was a futuristic Three Musketeers where guns were outlawed, but the bad guys had guns. You can see why that didn't go anywhere.
Wow.
Wait, so the show was about sword guys going to gunfights?
Basically.
Oh.
Yeah.
Aw.
And it was sad.
That's fair.
Yeah, we're right, yeah. They're outlawed, but so are the outlaws.
I did one pilot called The Family Martinez, and it was way ahead of its time. It was like a Latin family. Tommy Chong was one of the producers on it. And I was the prosecutor, and the public defender was that was always up against me was Robert Beltran.
No way.
Yeah. So he and I were always at it with each other, in the legal drama, but it was a sitcom. So we were just at it, and we end up, of course, falling in love somewhere down the line.
Sure.
So yeah, but
Wow.
but it was way ahead of its time in the sense that, it was just a full-on Latin cast and granny and mother and, a couple sisters.
Did it see episodes or was it just the pilot?
Just the pilot.
Yeah. And then how does TNG come into your life?
So TNG, I did a movie called Miracle Mile, and it was a really cool indie film. With let's see, Mare Winningham and Anthony Edwards were the leads, and it was there was an indie company called Hemdale that was David Hemmings and John Daly, and this was when indie films were just starting to make headway.
Right.
It went to Sundance and blah blah blah. It was a really cool film, and that's when the audition came for TNG. Now, let's go back to 1986. And TV wasn't like where you aspired to be.
No.
Yeah.
So when I had my audition, my sides for TNG, I remember being in the makeup trailer on Miracle Mile and hiding them.
Because it was TV.
Because I didn't want anyone to know I would actually be considering going on this audition.
Wow.
Because back then you were on two tracks. You were either on a film track or a TV track, and they didn't
mix.
cross over.
No. And I was in this class that was filled with, these actors that were starting to, get film roles and get indie film roles. And TV was where you kind of like did your shitty work.
Paid your rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing, right? So, that's when, and again, I was originally considered for the role of Deanna Troi.
Right.
Yeah. So
did you get that role? And then it was, how did that work out?
Oh my God. There were probably a series of 5 auditions. First was with Junie Lowry, just the casting. The next was with Junie and maybe one of the producers. The next was with, the producers, Junie and someone from Paramount.
Yeah.
Then it goes to, now Gene is brought in finally, right. Gene Roddenberry. And then that's when Gene flipped it. He said, would you consider reading for the part of Tasha Yar? He said, I have this crazy idea. And I said, sure. And he gave me the script and I went away and came back in and he goes, that's what I want. That's how I want to play it. So he just kind of made it up in the room.
And you just went off for an hour or so?
No, I'm pretty sure I took it home and,
right.
and looked at it. Yeah. I mean, I'm good, but not.
I'm not loud.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Oh, I got this,
And so then the casting happens.
The casting happens. I'm still...
What did you know about Star Trek?
Nothing. Okay. Oh, wait, no. I mean, I had seen the original.
Right.
But I didn't watch it, in 63 or whenever it came on, or 66?
67.
67?
Yeah.
I watched it when it first went into syndication, and it was on every night at 5.
Right.
And we'd smoke joints and watch Star Trek.
Right.
And best way to see it, by the way. And then, so I was living on that organic farm I was telling you about, and an 85-year-old Italian immigrant owned the farm, Chico. So Chico and I would watch Star Trek together every night. And I often think about Chico, how ironic. He didn't live to see me do the next gen,
He would have been thrilled, though.
Oh, my God. The irony of that,
Yeah.
We began, and it was like I wasn't quite sure about it. And it's really interesting we're talking about this now because as I told you, I've been going through the episodes with Sirach and Ryan on their
the seventh
rule.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the episodes in 35 years.
Oh, wow, how fun.
And it's like,
oh, that's got to be a blast.
Wow, really? That happened. And there's complete episodes I have no memory of
it all.
At all.
We were talking about this earlier in that I watched some episodes last night and I'd only seen a couple of the first season, but I hadn't seen the ones that I watched last night. And, there'd been, I think it was 4 movies prior to that. And it seemed as though, and you referenced this, it seemed as though they were styling it to be like the original series, at least in the first season or the first couple of seasons.
Yeah,
you had those sort of like opaque backgrounds that were just like a curtain and the rocks. And
that's because Gene was still present. Gene was still running the show. And a lot of the people that worked on the original series were in the next generation, were working behind the scenes. The costume,
especially that
costumer, all kinds of producers. And Gene felt very strongly and
like a continuity.
Proprietary, about the original show. Yeah. And that's what he wanted. He just wanted that look. He wanted that style. He wanted that template.
Right.
And that's what he was going for. And it didn't change, really, I think, until, maybe Michael Piller came on.
Until he passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was it like to work with him? Was he there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was really present. Oh, yeah. And he was lovely. He was just a cuddly, just giant, of a man, and very supportive, very there for any questions, not judgmental. He really believed that, he was handing these parts to us, and now it was for us to take it.
And how did you feel with the cast initially? Were you all gelling really quickly? It's a lot of work. You have to on some level.
I mean, look, that was 26 episodes a season.
Yeah.
We didn't have a sense of place at Paramount. We had these kind of shabby, disgusting trailers. We were sort of like the, stepchildren, and there was no food. I used to steal food from the set of Cheers.
Did you really?
Don't tell them. No. They were like, you should have seen their craft service table.
Sure.
You can imagine. It was like lobster.
Right. When you're the king of the campus.
Yeah, exactly. So, we had tomato slices and cremora, on our craft service table. And, the hours are brutal, and you're just slogging it out with each other, and you really have each other's back. That's, I used to get the unit production manager, if we were going into overtime, which we inevitably always did, knocking on my trailer door and saying, listen, we have only one more shot to do to get. Okay, would you waive your overtime?
Oh, wow.
And we were all so nice. I'd never done a series before. So I thought, oh, well, is that what everybody's doing? Oh, yeah, everybody's doing that. Okay. Until we all started to talk to each other and go, screw that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. We're not doing that.
You're going to force me, pay me.
But we were like, okay, whatever you guys,
Cheers
would do it take it for the team,
Yeah, right.
Until we realized that's not cool.
At all. Mm-hmm. Or legal.
No, it's not. There were so many. Oh my God! I can only tell you, stuff. There's no way you could get away with the stuff we did on that show. Oh my God! First of all, when we'd go to an away planet, all those missions, they'd pump in this like noxious smoke that was, I think, I don't know what it was, oil based.
Some oil based,
and
breathing it in.
We were all deathly ill, either with diarrhea or bronchitis or both.
Oh my God.
Until we had a SAG rep come to the set and say, you cannot do this again, to the producers. That smoke is not going to happen, or we're going to cite you and shut this place down. So they had to change the whatever that is, to make it
poison gas. They had to stop using poison gas.
And use some healthy toxins,
right. Mineral oil.
Right. I mean, it was you could feel it on your skin.
That's terrible.
I had a fight scene in episode the most ridiculous episode, Code of Honor, where I have to fight the king's wife.
Sure you do.
Okay, we beam down.
Yes.
It's an all black planet.
Yes, I was gonna say,
and the king speaks like, oh, I want the white woman, to be mine. So you must defend. You must fight my wife, and whoever wins, I will marry.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the rest of everyone, and I'm going, guys, this will never get on the air. Right. We can't be doing this. And we keep going and we keep going. So, Tasha Yar has to fight this wife on what looks like a jungle gym.
Yeah.
It's made of neon fluorescent tubes, glass tubes. We're up on these risers, and we've got stunt coordinators teaching us the move. You'll go here, I'll go here, you go here. Well, the girl that I'm doing, the actress that I'm fighting, missteps and knee-jerk reaction, reaches for a glass tube, breaks. Now you have that neon gas flowing, and a shard goes in my eye.
Oh, for F.
Oh,
now, who stages a fight sequence on glass neon tubes?
Honestly, I'm thinking to myself right now, who's the producer going like, Yeah, that's a good idea. That's another good idea.
Right.
I got a whole notebook of them right here.
Oh my God. I'm
Poison
telling you,
gas.
there is stuff. You scratch your head. There's no way. No way.
Right.
And so what happened to your eye?
I went, they take me to the doctor. Shooting stops for me. They go on to, something else. The eye doctor looks, flushes it out. Thank God, nothing. It was just like a tiny little
You're okay.
splinter.
That's your eye, though. That's scary.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay. It's
It's
my
just
eye.
next.
Go back to work.
Get the blonde out of the blonde.
Oh my gosh.
So how does the first season go for you? How?
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
What was your first moment on set? What do you remember the first thing you did in your uniform?
Oh God, I can't. No, I mean, those first days are so.
Just a whirl.
You have nothing to compare it to. You're
Right.
suddenly in a spacesuit on a spaceship.
Yeah.
In the 24th century, and I'm pushing these make-believe buttons, and and going. You'll look at us, and we're so deliberate with our communicator at
Right.
first. It's like. I think I actually made a noise one time when I took my phaser out, like, yeah.
Well, I did the same thing when we in our pilot, we had the very first scene I had with a phase pistol. I'm going and I'm going. They say cut, and they're like, Connor, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm shooting the phase pistol. Are you making a noise? And I was like, no. Honestly, didn't even think I was. They look back at me like, you're going.
You're like a little boy.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. And, we had to get used to working with that, that green screen okay, now do the shaky, and we got so good at first, we're like that. And then by the end of the season, we're like,
Yeah. Right.
just a little shoulder move.
Yeah. I think I watched the second episode and some of the shaking was just like wham, wham, wham.
Oh yeah. And in the pilot Encounter at Farpoint, which I only know because I've been watching these again, the command seats, not the captain and Riker and Troy sit up here, but then, Data and Geordi or whatever down here. But they have this other ensign that's sitting in for Data in one shot. And the seats were like these deep
weird bucket
bucket
seats.
seats.
Yeah.
And the ensign is like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And like we're fighting a battle, and he's like, "Okay, Captain, yeah, I got this." And I'm thinking, "Wow, you
chill.
might have to sit
Sit
up a
up
little."
for a second. No, I saw that and I was like, what? They look like recliners.
Exactly, or like Mustang bucket seats or something
Yeah.
from like muscle cars.
Angled.
Yeah. Just as crazy.
funny.
So yeah, the first day, I'm sure I don't remember it really literally, but I know that we were just trying to embody this space, set,
Sure.
this, who are these people? How do we move about here? Are they military? Are they not military? Are they casual? It's all that kind of stuff that starts to, have
Yeah.
to.
Was Gene a big part of that in terms of giving sort of tone and energy?
No, he wasn't. We did do something that I noticed they abandoned when I went back in subsequent seasons. We did have a table read of each new script. So lunch would be called in, sandwiches or something in some conference room at Paramount, and we'd all sit there and go page by page and just ask questions. Gene was always there. Rick Berman was always there. And, that was really helpful.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We
and
never
I don't
did
know.
that.
No, I don't understand, because I've done it on many other shows.
Right.
Usually they always have a table read and they're so helpful.
So
One
helpful.
way to
It just
provide
breaks the ice.
context for your character too.
Context and it's an icebreaker.
Dominic tells stories about he'll say some line, and now that he's rewatching the series Enterprise, all these years later, he's like, "Oh, I would have said it that way if I'd have known that that's what the episode was about."
Right.
It just happened to work.
And for guest actors too.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have an idea about what you're doing, but my God, especially on your show when it was, coming back, and what's a Klingon like now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a Romulan like now?
Right.
What's anybody doing now? And that's so helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, I you would see the guest actors just, their eyes would go, start twirling. Because I remember working with Chris McDonald when I did Yesterday's Enterprise. He pulled me aside and he goes, how do you do this? And he's a tremendous actor. I said, I don't know. You just kind of lock in.
You guys were great in that episode.
Oh, God. Thank you. I love Chris. We had just immediate chemistry, and he just was delightful. He made me laugh. We broke up a scene that we weren't even in because we were laughing. We were laughing in the background, and it was like a page like this for Patrick.
Oh,
and he covered for me. We were like fixing the machine. We were down, fixing the ship in some way. And the two captains are having this really serious, long monologue. Yeah. And Chris looks at me, and I look at him, and I just go, and I start fake coughing. And Chris goes, "Oh God, I'm sorry. Can somebody get her some water?" Like we totally covered for me. Patrick just like,
I'm working here.
Yeah. Well, that's the Federation is losing to the Klingons speech that he has. That's that episode, by the way. Yesterday's Enterprise is not only is it one of the best The Next Generation episodes, it's on my list one of the best of all of Star Trek, all of the series, and quite possibly one of the best television episodes I've ever seen. That episode has stuck with me since I was a little boy in northern Minnesota. It's so good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You're so sweet. Yeah, it's absolutely my favorite. I mean, I always make the joke I had to die to get off, get a good episode.
Right. Right. Well, so let's get into some of this. Your year on season 1, and what leads up to where it ends for you.
So, the first season, the writing was up and down, really.
It's awkward. It's like a fourth season of the original series.
Yeah.
We were talking about
okay. So it's not compelling. A lot of episodes are going by where I am literally standing on that horseshoe bridge saying nothing. I have no dialogue. I have no contribution
for the whole episode?
For the whole episode. If I do anything, it's aye, Captain. And I used to make a joke. Why don't you guys just do my legs, like do a mock-up, and just keep the camera low? You're on Patrick here, and it'll look like my legs are in the back, and I can go home.
Right.
And they go, "Oh, Denise." I go, I am actually that's a really good idea.
Right.
And, I was just getting increasingly frustrated and worried that this was going to be what it was for 6 years.
Right.
And again, remember the 80s, and TV is, where you go to die, and
you're seeing your death.
And it's not like, exactly. And it's not like I'm making, $500,000 an episode, $400,000 an episode. We weren't paid very well at all. I mean, compared, my God. And so, there's all the factors that would make you stay in something, or you kind of go, well, look, I got a mortgage to pay. I've got kids to raise. I've got, I don't have the luxury of that. Right. I didn't have any of that. So it was like, and then it was a series of talking to the other cast members, talking to the producers, writers, trying to get some sense of where are they going with this? I mean, they had, just too many characters, and I thought it was going to be multiple storylines. Right. Because that's what TV was moving into. You had Hill Street Blues and stuff doing that for the first time.
Right.
That were doing ABC stories. And I thought that's what it was going to be. Finally, when Gene and I talked, he said, it's not going to be that way. It's going to involve the captain, the first officer, and Data. That's what the show is going to focus on. and whatever planet we go to visit.
That's because they were the new Kirk,
That
Spock,
was
and McCoy.
that was what he wanted. That's the model he was using. It worked for him. He said, "I don't want you to leave, but I understand your frustration." And he was the only reason why I could leave, because he had total control of the show, and to let me out of a ironclad contract like that.
Right, because they could have sued you.
They could have said no.
They could have said no.
Number one, or yes, they could have sued me.
They could have even said, "Well, great, you can't work for the next 6 years."
All of that.
Yeah, they've got you over a barrel.
Yeah, you signed. You
Were you in for
signed.
the whole series?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because
But Gene had control. He the only way he was ever going to agree to do another Star Trek was that he didn't want to repeat what had happened to him with CBS in the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Canceled then, all the control, the thing. He said, I have complete autonomy. And so he said, I'll let you go.
Well, just so the audience understands, as an actor, when you sign a contract, before you even go in for your final audition, you've signed a 7-year contract. That was, I don't know why it was 7 years, but it was that span of time. You signed it, and they had you for the 7 years. They could fire
If they
you.
cast you.
If they cast you.
Yeah.
But you sign your life away before you do your last audition.
Where you get the job.
Where you get the
Yeah.
job. Understandably, because if you did it afterward, you'd have been like, I think I could use a little more money.
That's right. That's
but
right.
you, not in your case, you can't quit. If you do, they can say, okay, you're gone, but you can't work in television for
The remainder of
the entirety of this contract.
Mm-hmm.
They can sue you, or they can just say no and make your life hell.
Right.
So for him to do that,
I know. But he understood, he didn't want anybody there that genuinely didn't want to be there, which is understandable.
right?
And he just was, I remember him saying, I understand your feelings. I was a young writer once, and I was frustrated and struggling, and I was hungry. He goes, I get that in you. And I don't want you to leave, but I will let you go without any, problems.
So
And then
you
wrote
quit.
this. Yeah.
Wow.
Did you
With no
feel,
job to go to.
Right.
Did you feel
wasn't
mostly
like
relieved when you were done?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, and again, it wasn't like a rash decision. It wasn't like, I'm out of here, and on the fly. I had really struggled for months at this point with and I was just getting increasingly hostile. I didn't want to bring that onto the set. I wasn't. It just, everything about it was making me uptight and angry, and those other actors certainly didn't deserve my hostility.
Right. But were you the only one who felt this way?
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
So
Well, Will didn't stay the whole time either.
Right,
Will
right.
Wheaton, yeah.
probably for a similar reason.
Yeah.
So then, to quell a rumor,
But there was a weird backlash about Will's character that, there was a lot of early hate on his character.
There was, and I
Fans.
now watching these shows again, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
But I don't get it. He's adorable.
great.
Yeah. I don't
so
know.
let's quell a rumor then. You were not fired for doing a Playboy shoot on the set.
Oh, you mean like I posed for Playboy on the set?
On the bridge.
You know who that is?
No.
What's her name? That was in Sex and the City.
Oh, Kim Cattrall.
Kim Cattrall.
Oh.
She did. Didn't she play something?
She did.
Played Vulcan.
She was the bald-
And,
headed-
okay, so
in
she
Star Trek 6.
when after everybody had gone, she came on and did like naked pictures of herself.
That's
On the bridge.
Okay. All right.
No,
Well,
I wish that that would have no, but that was Playboy was much earlier than
They reprinted your original shoot after Star Trek came out. Well, after Star Trek.
Oh, they re-released it.
Is that the timeline? I mean, I don't know. The internet says
Who
different
knows?
things.
I mean, I think my Playboy was in 81.
Yeah.
And
For
so
7
86,
years,
yeah, was
So you're done with the show. And then what?
I go home, make a sandwich.
Think about my life.
Well, fortunately, soon after that came Pet Sematary. So Mary Lambert, who directed Pet Sematary, she and I had done a number of music videos together back in the day when MTV was born. Okay.
Right.
So, and she now had become a superstar music video director because she did all of Madonna's early music videos, all those really, scandalous ones too, the burning of the crucifix and,
Right.
all that stuff. So
The good ones.
the good ones, right. So Mary is starting to direct. She's made one other film called Siesta, which is a really pretty cool film with Miles Davis doing the soundtrack. And she gets this film. And she had always said to me, we've got to do a movie together. We've got to do a movie together. And I can count on one hand the people who've actually come through.
Right.
That have said that and done it. And she did. And so back at Paramount, I have to screen test for Pet Sematary.
Right.
Yeah. So that happened like fairly soon after I left. Maybe
So when
a year
when
later.
you went back to Paramount, did you still have to go get food from the set of Cheers?
Yeah.
We shot in Maine. We shot that whole movie in Maine. And yeah, the
Was
screen.
Stephen King there?
Oh yeah. He was great. We had like 2 weeks of rehearsal. So it was just Mary, myself, Dale Midkiff, who plays my husband, Fred Gwynn, and Stephen before we shot. So we'd meet in like a little, conference room, and Stephen was great. He just, again, that like Gene said, he wrote, I brought my Pet Sematary book for him to sign, and he wrote, you are Rachel Creed, and Rachel Creed is you. Love, Stephen.
Oh, still have it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just forgetting. I did a movie right before Pet Sematary. So, like, the first job I did after I left Star Trek was something called Tennessee Nights, and with Julian Sands. And we were down in Nashville, doing that. Because why I'm thinking of it as I was reading Pet Sematary while I was in Nashville, working on Tennessee Nights, and it was this old, historic hotel, and Minnesota Fats, the great
The pool player.
lived
Pool shark.
in the hotel.
This is in Memphis?
Is it Memphis? Maybe it's Memphis.
In
it's Memphis.
In the Peabody?
Yes.
Where the Ducks?
Yes. Thank you. Not Nashville, Memphis. Minnesota Fats was living in that hotel. So it had so many weird nooks and
I've stayed
crannies.
there.
Okay. So I'm reading Pet Sematary, and it's like a kind of windy night. And suddenly my closet door goes, like that. I threw that book across the room. I was terrified in that hotel. There you go.
So the Peabody is famous. There was a very wealthy woman who had a penthouse there at the top, and she had pet ducks. Loved them so much. And there were always, I believe, 9, maybe 8. But she had the other penthouse where the ducks lived.
Oh, God.
And then every day at 5 o'clock, the concierge would trot the ducks down in a line, go swim in the little pool. It's become a whole thing.
On the elevator?
They had their own elevator. They had their own elevator.
Oh, for fun. And the ducks would just go along.
The ducks can swim for a while and then hike back up.
And their ducks are still there, right?
And they still have, they keep 8 or 9, whatever it is. They keep the same number that this, I don't know who the lady was, but just one of those funny sort of Southern charming weird things.
Absolutely. Gothic.
Yeah,
Gothic.
totally. Mm-hmm. Did you, were you like, I'm done with television?
Gosh, I didn't really, no, I was always open to, a good part, a good role. I was soon after I left offered Babylon 5, and I turned it down.
Were you worried about being pigeonholed in the sci-fi world? That's crossed my mind.
I think I was in to some degree. I thought, the character of Tasha Yar was this, formidable, strong, female, and that's I couldn't get any other parts, that weren't like, I couldn't get the disheveled, needy, traumatized role,
right. Yeah. Well, Nana talked about this when we had her on, and she was saying, just the very description of her character was such a, she's like, oh, heck yes, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Because, otherwise, what does she say? She said, like, if I've got blonde hair,
I'm getting murdered.
If I've got dark hair, I'm the murderer.
Oh.
So, really sort of just pigeonholed in your sex alone.
Did Nana mention the show that she and I did together before Star Trek?
Mm-mm.
No.
Oh, there was it was a TV show. I think it was called Uhura. Could that be right? Uhura.
Oh,
I saw it on IMDb. Yeah.
Is it?
Is that what it's called?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so I think Pat Morita was the star. He played a detective, and Nana and I are the guests. I'm the baddie. She's the good girl.
Oh my God.
And I think I have an affair with her husband. And we want to get her. We want to get rid of her. Right. The husband and I plot to get rid of the wife, which is Nana.
God.
Right.
And so Nana and I just adored each other. We just, immediately adored each other. And so cut to many, many years later, and we would see each other occasionally on auditions. We'd once in a while read for the same role, and we always adored each other. And I remember she turned me on to Chanel makeup, Chanel base. Which I used all through Star Trek.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We talk about that.
You did something amazing. You made a documentary. You made 2 Trekkies. What? How? Why?
Oh, that is still a good question. Wow. Well, okay. So, it's sort of, it's a multi-pronged answer. I personally love documentaries. I just love them as a genre, and I see a lot of them. Roger Nygard, who directed Trekkies, my partner, I acted in his first feature film. He directed, another Minnesota boy, called High Strung, and we remained friends. So we would periodically see each other and have lunch. And we were having lunch one day, and I had just come back from a con. And he was fascinated. He goes, "So what is this con thing? What do you do? And what's it like?" And I was trying to walk him through it. And I said, "I just can't believe no one has really made a documentary about this. It's just got so much there. People always want to know, what are Star Trek fans like? Like, don't they creep you out, or do they live in the basement, or what is it about Star? Why would they do that? Why would they get together in these things? Why? People that are more fascinated by that, they could care less about the show. I have friends who've never seen an episode of Star Trek,
right?
But they love Trekkies, and they love the whole thing. So I said to Roger, I just can't believe no one's made a documentary. And he said, "Why don't we make a documentary?" I said, "We don't know how to make a documentary." "What do you mean we make a documentary?" He goes, "It can't be that hard." And I said, well I don't know about that. And he goes, "Look, I'm working on a script right now with an indie company called Neo Motion Pictures. They've got an editing machine right there. I know a camera guy. I know a sound guy. You and I, let's find a convention. Is any coming up?" And there was a charity convention that was always held at the airport Hilton for the Actors Fund.
Oh.
This was, I'm trying to think of the gentleman that did it. He had done, I think he had played in one of the original series features. It was coming up. I said, and Roger said, listen, we'll go for the weekend. We'll ask some questions. We'll hit the ground running. We'll film. We'll look and see. We'll look at it and see if we have anything.
Yeah.
If we do, we'll keep going.
Yeah.
We'll keep going. So I said, great, I can get us into the con. And that was our very first day of shooting at the Hilton. And by chance, almost all of the original cast was there.
Oh, wow.
So because I could go up to George or Walter or Nichelle and Jimmy, the only two that weren't there were Leonard and Bill. Everybody else was there. Harris and our sound guy each had their own equipment, and everybody agreed. We made a deal with them that if we make this documentary and we sell it, we'll pay you your salary and a half if you agree to do this for free right now.
Oh.
And they did.
Oh, wow.
And we did.
Good.
Once we sold it, we paid them,
So did you get all of the characters who wind up fleshing out Trekkies from there?
So what we did, genius on Roger's part, he got some fan sites on the internet and put out a couple of emails saying, we're making a documentary about Star Trek fans. If you think you have an interesting story, we'd like to hear from you. So people from all over started responding, and we started to pick a few, and we sort of predicated it on whether I was invited. Like if I was invited to a con in Des Moines, I would cash in my ticket. I would get our crew tickets for pretty much the same. And we would go to that person. If they lived near Des Moines, we'd go see them.
Oh.
So we started to be able to tease out these people.
Right.
We heard about, Barbara Adams, who went to the Whitewater Jury in her Star Trek uniform. I mean, that was all over the news. So we said, we got to go to see her. Contacted her. And she said, oh, yeah, I would love to talk to you. And heard about this dentist in Florida whose practice was completely tricked out.
Right.
Like, welcomed us there.
The young man with the truck.
Oh, God. So Gabriel Kerner, the 14-year-old, we did meet him at the Hilton.
You did.
I spotted him, and I said, we got to have a kid. We got to have a kid. And he had that, the detail, everything, and his articulation and his seriousness. And Gabriel now has ended up doing effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, for all kinds of stuff.
I've met him several times.
Oh, yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah. Did you run into any issues with licensing?
Much to my shock, the word Trekkies hadn't been copywritten.
Really?
Amazing, right?
But they never tried to shut you down. Nobody got in your way.
I'm telling you, we did something. We just had luck on our side because, for instance, the opening of Trekkies, I am on the Paramount lot. Hi, I'm Denise Crosby. I'm standing in front of the Gene Roddenberry building, and what a phenomenon this has become. And we're on the lot. Nobody shoots on the lot. It's impossible to shoot on the lot. Okay.
Right.
My husband Ken was in an acting class years ago with Sherry Lansing, who was the president of Paramount at that time. Ken goes, I'm going to call Sherry. I go, what? What do you mean you're going to call Sherry? He goes, so what? Let's just see what happens. I'm going to call her. I'm going to call Sherry Lansing's office and said, hi, it gets her assistant. This is Ken Silk. I'm an old friend of Sherry's. Is she around? And she said, no, she's in a meeting. What is this about? Well, my wife, Denise Crosby, she was on Star Trek. I shot at the, Paramount lot, and she wants to do a little promo for a documentary she's making. She wants to shoot in front of the Roddenberry building. And the woman goes, sure, fine.
Oh, right there.
Well,
Roger and I walked onto the lot.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that.
We had a pass waiting for us.
that's awesome.
So for all of you out there, if you want to shoot on the Paramount lot, just call a random secretary or assistant or receptionist.
I think she ran it by Sherry, and Sherry. But it all comes down to who you know, right?
Yeah, right.
Always. So how was it received?
Well, what we were, again, I love that we're talking about this because just last night I finished 4 chapters, and Roger's written a new book about how to make a documentary.
Oh.
And he's dedicated 4 chapters to what we went through with Trekkies.
Very cool.
He took detailed, copious notes, which I wasn't aware of. He has every date, who we spoke to, how many months went by before we got a deal.
Right.
I mean, it was mind blowing to just walk through all that again. So the movie was really well received. Our biggest concern was striking the right tone.
Yeah.
We were walking a very fine tightrope.
Well, they weren't, they were made fun of.
And which was exactly what we didn't want to do.
Right.
What our intention was to let the fans tell their story. Now, you're making a movie, so you're going to seek out interesting fans.
Yes.
You don't want the boring whatever. So where is that line? And Roger was editing, and while he was putting together rough cuts, we were showing to people like Richard Arnold, different people who were, embedded in fandom. Like, is this going to work? Is this okay? Does this look like we're making fun?
Are we making fun of them?
And so we were coherent of that the whole way through. Look, there's going to be, I'm sure people that feel otherwise. That I know some of my fellow castmates who refused to be in it.
Right.
Who just said, why you're making fun of these people? I said, no, I'm not making fun of them.
Right. I'm showing them.
Celebrating them.
I'm celebrating them,
right.
actually.
Humanizing them. Why are they such rabid fans?
And we're genuinely wanting to know, and the friendships, and it was just, I was sick of watching the 11 o'clock news. Hey, a Star Trek convention's coming to town, ladies and gentlemen. Get those Spock ears on, and come on down and join us.
Right.
I knew there was so much other stuff going on: charity work, friendships, relationships. People that found finally a place to belong, in a society, in a culture that doesn't always welcome, people.
Right. And inspiration to do great things.
Science, all that, engineering, technology, all that, people have been inspired to go into that, field.
Well, I hear this all the time. I'm sure you do as well. It's one of the things that I take such pride in about being a part of this is that there's something that I've done in my life, in my profession, that is entertainment that has had direct, profound, lasting impact on people's lives.
Isn't that's amazing?
It is.
It's so much bigger than us, the sum of our parts. The whole is so much greater.
Yeah.
Than that.
And the further I get away from having done the show, the more I understand that, which is interesting.
Absolutely.
I think that probably anybody doing one of the series right now, you don't really get what's going on until later. And the embrace of that.
Enough you'll meet enough people that will, fill your heart with their their story, their tale. I like to go to the conventions and listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're there to see me, but I'm really quite taken by the stories that have been shared with me.
Yeah. I even find sometimes that I'm not even sure they're there to see me. They're there to see each other, and we happen to be the entertainment.
The reason.
Yeah.
We're the reason
and
that brings them together.
And the fact that it's such an interesting full circle that you've done, in the fact that you didn't want to do the show after the first season, and yet you bring this, love letter to the fans in Trekkies. These years later, it's just such an interesting journey that you've been on.
It really, it becomes like what, like I was saying, it's not the show that interests me. It's really the cultural phenomenon around it.
Mm. Yep.
That is far more interesting to me.
Yeah.
We're just conduits, to that create this sort of way of being. But yeah, so it is an interesting journey. Continues.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was there something about ownership of it that you didn't have it for a while and then you got it back?
Right. Yeah. So we made like a 21-year deal with Paramount.
To distribute it, or
Yes, to distribute it. They had the rights to it. But at the end of that period, if they didn't want to renew it, it reverted back to
it
us.
was an exclusive 20. It was a 21-year exclusive license.
Right.
Is that typical?
Is that
It's a little long.
Yeah.
It's about 10 years, 5 years too long.
I was going through those chapters in Roger's book. I naivete, there's something to say about it, because you ask for things because you don't know that you can't,
right,
or shouldn't.
Right.
So there were two things I held out for in Trekkies. One, a theatrical release. We absolutely wanted a theatrical release. And the second thing was I never gave out a tape for any executive to see. They had to sit and watch a screening.
Oh, why?
Because most people watch 5 minutes of a tape, an executive, and ejects it and goes, I've seen enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Harvey Weinstein wanted it, would
You
not
made
want
Weinstein sit down and watch it?
Absolutely.
Wow. Good for you.
For you.
Is this part of the naivete that you're talking about?
Yes. Like, who would say, I can't believe I would say that.
Right.
I would do that. I'd never made a film before, and I'm telling the heads of studios, acquisitions, nope, we will not give you a tape. And it was starting to get buzz because we were going into festivals.
Right.
And, they all talk to each other.
Yeah,
all
yeah,
these
sure.
execs. Yeah. So, and Paramount was the last, like, just dragging their heels.
Yeah.
I was moments away from selling it to Universal.
Really?
Wow.
Moments away. Literally, I mean, within hours.
Wow.
And Paramount jumped in.
How
Did
can
you
they
have?
not, though? Like,
Yeah, it's one of their babies.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yes, except they were absolutely clueless what to do with a low budget documentary. That's not their,
Right.
That's
It's not
that.
their MO.
And I was holding out for theatrical.
Yeah.
Right.
They could have said, "Oh, well, this would be great. This is a great home video market."
Yeah, straight to video.
Yeah, that's it.
Blockbuster.
And I said,
whatever.
no.
So, how many theaters did you get?
Yeah. Good question.
I think they were major markets, and we wouldn't take less than 10. Atlanta, LA, New York. So the Chicago. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Right. And how did it do?
Well,
I'm sure it lived on video.
Oh God,
and
yes.
went crazy.
It didn't. It lasted 2 weeks in the cinema. But what that does is then Paramount, when selling their other titles to foreign, they have
Package
to
that
bring.
in.
Yeah,
Right.
they got to buy Trekkies.
Yeah.
So that we were in the black immediately.
Right. Wow.
I mean, it didn't cost that much to make. I think. Trying to think what, maybe 350,000.
Wow. And you didn't go to Europe in the first one. It was the second one.
No, the
that
second
you
one.
went and
Yeah, that's when I grabbed you.
Yeah.
Because, the first one we just, again, well, we went to Paramount for a budget for the second one.
Oh.
They had the first right of refusal to make
Right.
to make a sequel, and as they do right now, to make a third. We have an idea for a third and
do?
final
Oh, fun.
chapter. Yeah. Yeah, because it's changed so much,
Yeah.
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
And you'll be in it.
Yeah.
You'll be in it too.
I mean, it is interesting too because
You'll be in it too.
Thank you.
When you did Trekkies,
all be in
it was all sort of like, what do they call us? They call us legacy, apparently.
Legacy
the,
Trek.
the golden age of Trek and whatever. And we were on, it was starting to slide a little bit in terms of hitting its apex and fandom, and hell, we got canceled. And then, you know, it was fallow for a minute. And then now it's exploded. I mean, how many are on TV right now? Five?
Hard, there's
right?
Discovery, there's Strange New Worlds, there's Prodigy, there's
Lower Decks.
Lower Decks.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Well, you know, and of course you have Paramount Plus now, so they need product. Mm-hmm. They need product.
and Star Trek is their money machine.
yeah, it's
yeah.
it kept Paramount alive for quite a while, I heard. You know, in the dark days of them making crap movies.
Oh,
Makes
yeah.
sense.
Oh yeah.
You know, Star
yeah.
Trek, they owe a lot to it.
They do, and I hope they realize it.
I think they probably do now. I would imagine. Should we go to some fan questions?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Let's do
Are you
it.
ready?
Cool.
All right. Our first question, fan question, is from Thomas Labanick from Patreon. How did it come about for you to join the Suits cast, and what was your experience like?
Oh, Suits. It was fabulous. That was just so much fun to kind of bring it home. You know, that was the ninth and final season. And I just got to kick some butt in that role. I mean, she was just formidable. I think she was called a master something, some kind of master. And that character was just so rich. You know, it's sometimes hard to walk onto a set that these guys have been together
So long.
you know, for so long, and what they've gone through, you know, with Meghan Markle and, you know, all this stuff. And I just didn't know what, plus I'm playing, you know, a baddie. I'm
Right.
just who breaks them. And they were just, bring it, girl. We're here for you. And it was perfection.
Well, that's actually
amazing.
really interesting because, like, what was it like going back to the Next Generation after all those years where they had congealed in a certain way?
Yeah, it was. Well, you know, there were like 4 or 5 times I came back.
Yeah.
You know, so in the third season, and that took me completely by surprise. I never thought I would see that coming. You know, so it was
just called you
joyful.
up one
It was
day.
Pardon?
They just called you up one day and said, "We have a script."
Rick Berman called me at home. You know, and I thought, what do you mean Tasha's alive? And you know, and
No, she's not.
She died.
She is not. I played her, you know, and I thought, oh God, it's not going to be some dream sequence, you know.
Right.
And they said, no, it's a really good script, and sent me the script, and it was amazing. And I said, great, let's do it. But on that show, on yesterday's Enterprise, you know, most of my stuff is with Chris McDonald, and I'm not really interacting with any of the other actors
except for Whoopi Goldberg.
except Whoopi, which I
wasn't
was
in the first
so
season.
happy to work with, and Patrick. Yeah. So that was a little bit. I felt, you know, a little detached from the show in that way. Mm-hmm. Then I come back as Sela, you know, as the Romulan, and
Your own daughter.
my own daughter, and that was a trip. You know, I was just you know, solidly trying to differentiate the two as an actor. And of course, I'm playing with Leonard Nimoy, and that's very interesting. And
Amazing, yeah.
I know the very last episode, All Good Things, that I felt very disconnected at that point. They were. It was like they were speaking kind of a shorthand language that I didn't know the language, you know?
Right.
And that's understandable. And I never felt like, I didn't know how everyone felt about me leaving.
Yeah.
I mean, really. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they had conversations that I just wasn't privy to. I would imagine.
Yeah, right.
I know, and others I feel cleaner with, you know, and in that regard than some. But I just always felt like, are they liking me coming back? Does this push buttons for them? I think all of the above.
Right.
All of the above.
Right. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a grind.
Absolutely.
It's like fighting a war, being in a show like that for that many years.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember once somebody saying to my son, she goes, I can't believe your mother was only on this show 1 year.
And look at the
And
legacy.
look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my son's like, well, whatever.
We were just talking about
That's my mom.
That's my mom. She what? I don't know.
Yeah, but we were talking about that before you walked in. It was like your character was only there for a year, but the legacy that character carried through that show and on is so out of proportion from the time that you were actually physically there. It's really it's impressive, and it's a testament to you and
sweetie.
the fans of the show who recognize what's great and what's not.
You know, as we were talking about earlier, how the distance now that you get from it, you begin to see it in a different way. You know, and I think that I see how this character could really resonated with a lot of young women. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you know, you don't get it when you're doing it. You know?
Right.
One of our Patreon members who got so excited when we announced that you were coming on the show, Kelly Harper, was basically, I'll paraphrase it, but she said that she was so excited about your character and how strong you were that she made her parents get her a haircut to look like you when she was a kid.
If only she knew. Now she will.
Right.
Okay, next question is from David Pick from Patreon. Any good memories of guest starring on the X-Files?
Oh wow, these are good. These are walking me through memory lane. The X-Files. So yeah, it was a really cool show. I loved Chris Carter, who you know created it. Really cool guy, really smart. It was an odd time to be there for me. Only that Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny were not speaking to each other.
Oh.
It was one of those very tense-filled sets, and it was palpable.
Yeah.
And very uncomfortable. I remember. Chris was great, on the other hand, and I knew David a little bit because he had there was a Showtime series many years ago called The Red Shoe Diaries.
Yes.
And he was the narrator. He did the pilot. It was kind of his, you know. So our paths crossed. I did 2 episodes of the Red Shoe Diaries. So we kind of knew each other. But
Was that the Zalman King?
Zalman King.
Dominic did one of those.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. They were a trip.
Oh, God.
They were a trip. That was just the dawn of Showtime.
Right.
I think it might have been the first
One of
series.
the first series,
Yes,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was because, you know, kind of edgy in the...
Oh God, the one I did was so cool. It was called The Right to Remain Silent. I think it was the second episode. I play a cop who's obsessed with this guy at her gym, and she's gonna have him. And she gets in her patrol. She eyeballs him, and he gets in his Jag and drives off. And she's in her patrol car, but she's broken his taillight out with her billy club already. So she puts on her lights and pulls him over.
Oh my God, brilliant.
And she basically cuffs him and forces him to watch her strip.
Wow.
And I don't remember what but Zalman directed that one. Did Zalman direct
I don't
Dominic?
know. I don't know.
Zalman rode this guy like a maniac. He would scream at him. The guy it was so scary to be on that set. Zalman loved me, but just ran. And I used to look at this actor going, how are you taking this?
And he just did.
He just did. He just shut up and he just did what he said.
Oof.
It was like the worst director behavior you could ever imagine.
Did he direct your other one as well?
No, that was in Paris. I went to Paris to do that one.
You poor thing.
I know. Somebody, had to do the role.
Next question is from Victor from Patreon. Did you have more fun playing Tasha Yar or Sela?
Well, gosh, I certainly played Tasha longer and, was more invested in her. So, I think definitely Tasha.
Yeah. All right. The next question is from Fran Castile from Patreon. Did she have any love interests on Star Trek: The Next Generation?
You mean within our cast, or
I guess
or in real life, or no? We were the most boring cast ever. Well, Lieutenant Castillo, was my love interest that in yesterday's Enterprise. There always are little hints at things. Like I was watching. Oh, when like Riker comes on board for the first time in the pilot, you see Tasha's like all like, like excited, and kind of checking him out as he walks away. I'm like, oh God, I did that, huh?
Hello, Clark Gable.
I know. And certainly Data.
Right.
Yeah. The droid.
The hot minute.
The fully functional droid.
That's right.
All right. The next question is from producer Chris, who's right here. Is it true that on your last episode of TNG that you broke the fourth wall and waved at the camera?
Yes. Yes, you caught that, you sneaky guy. What happened with that is, so is that in Symbiosis, I think, is the episode title. And the script for my death sequence was ready first. Mm-hmm. So we shot that first. And then shot Symbiosis. Obviously, they reversed them when they aired it. So that shot in Symbiosis was, I thought, to be my final shot that I was ever going to shoot in Next Gen. So somebody mentioned, they said, do something, for like the outtakes or something, something silly. So as Crusher and Picard are leaving the bay, I kind of look at the camera and I wave like goodbye to the fans. And so they cut and a cake comes and the producers come and they wish me luck and
Sweet.
Great, we love you and all good things. And then they move on. And I'm thinking,
they're going to have to use it.
They're not reshooting. Well, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
And they were, I still to this day don't have the answer. Were the editors in on the joke?
Maybe.
Or were they just forced? They had nothing to cut to.
Right. That's awesome.
I know.
That's cool.
I know. I totally just broke the fourth wall.
That's really fun.
I just watched you wave.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Picard is walking out of the transporter room or whatever, and you would jump up in the background and wave at. Mm-hmm. That's kind of fun.
That's
Nice,
great.
Chris. Thanks for out-nerding me.
Never.
At the Casey Kavanaugh on Instagram asks us, did you inherit musical talent?
Oh, well, I mean, compared to what? I mean,
That's funny.
Yes, I believe that there's some, but I mean, I don't, I don't pursue that. I don't, make it a career thing.
Yeah.
But I love music, and like I said, I studied and
Played the jazz flute. Classical flute.
Classical guitar.
Oh, cool.
And what I really am trying to get back to is piano.
Oh, the piano. That's
yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list.
Yeah. Me too.
I have a question for you because I don't know, and I don't know if you covered it, but when you shaved your head.
Well, I didn't shave my head. I
I'm
just
sorry,
cut
when
it
you
really
cut
short.
it, not shave it. I just keep having that image of me short hair.
Persis Kambata.
Did you do that because you were having a moment, or were you hoping they were going to fire you?
I think I was basically saying we're going to do this on my terms.
That was your okay.
Yeah, we're going to do this in my terms.
Very interesting. Very cool. I love that.
Is that?
Oh yeah, that's a Playboy shot.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. You did cut it short.
Oh yeah.
Look at you.
Crazy.
Are we done with the questions?
Yeah, we're all done with the questions.
Well, we
you guys.
also have Star Trek trivia. It's you and I against Mark.
Yeah.
Nana and I won yesterday.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Really
And I
proud of
promised
you,
the fan who won a car, which, sorry. So, not a car.
No cars.
A toy car.
A toy, yes.
A toy car.
Oh yeah, we can start sending
we're
little
making
Star
promises.
Trek toy cars.
This is all going to get really bad now.
It does. It does.
Nana was surprisingly, not surprising, I don't know, but she was really She was really good at it.
She knew
Wow.
stuff.
She was looking at me like she knew all these answers and she was
How
ready
does
for
she
it. And I was
know
like,
that stuff?
I don't know, because good Lord.
She's been studying it.
Yeah, the encyclopedia.
she's a fan of the Shuttlepod show. Maybe she is.
So here's how it
tell her.
works.
Yes, go ahead.
So Erica will ask a question, and there are 4 answers, A, B, C, and D, and
Multiple
we
choice.
have to wait until she asks it completely, like, finishes it. And then we say our name, like Mark, Connor,
That's
Denise.
a buzzer. Your buzzer.
That's
is
your
saying-
buzzer. Is your name.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you guys can talk it over between the two
Yeah,
of you.
we get to confer.
Oh.
Yes.
He's on his own.
Are you ready?
Yeah?
Okay. Question number 1. Which of the following body parts is the oldest on Data's body? A, left arm, B, head, C, torso, or D, right hand?
Connor.
I'm throwing it to Connor.
Yeah, that was definitely Connor.
Well, I'm going to get it wrong. What do you think? Head? No? Torso?
The oldest.
Oh, sure. We're going with left arm.
Are you? Yeah? Okay.
No, not. No, we're not going with left arm.
My bad.
Mark.
My bad.
Torso.
Wrong.
Mark.
Mark.
Head.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like 400 years old or something, I think.
Really?
Yeah, because there's an episode where
I've never seen this.
they go back in time to San Francisco, and Mark Twain is there, and he gets blown apart, and his head gets found in this cave, and it's all so his head is super super old.
All right.
Yeah,
Oldest
Long
head
story
ever.
short.
Oh, no. Data's head.
Question number 2. Who is the engineer aboard the USS Enterprise E? A, Trip Tucker, B, B'Elanna Torres, C, Geordie LaForge, or D, Simon McCready?
Mark.
That actually was Connor first.
So E.
No E.
No.
Enterprise E.
Enterprise
The
E.
Enterprise
So the only reason I know this is
Oh.
because in yesterday's Enterprise, it's going from. You go back to a C class.
Right.
They're on a D class.
Yes.
The next ship would have been Voyager, which would have been B'Elanna Torres. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean,
I think
would have been
so.
Voyager in terms of the chronology.
So you're saying B'Elanna Torres?
Yep.
Mark.
Mark, the answer is
Geordie LaForge.
correct. Answer is C, Geordie LaForge. I'm sorry.
The Enterprise E. So the Enterprise D gets blown up by a bunch of Klingon sisters.
The Klingon sisters?
And it's what are they called? What
The
are they
band?
called? Who are the Klingon sisters? The blah blah
Kling-
sisters.
Oh, yeah.
No, they get the Enterprise D gets blown up in Star Trek Generations, and Riker crashes the saucer section on the planet where Patrick Stewart and William Shatner are fighting Malcolm McDowell. And then the Enterprise E is in the rest of the Next Generation movies,
Oh.
which Geordie LaForge is the chief engineer.
Feels like a trick question.
Jeez
It
Louise.
just feels like a trick question.
Oh, my goodness.
We're doing great.
Question number 3. In which season did Riker first appear with his beard? A, first, B, second, C, fourth, or D, never?
Mark.
Connor.
I think that was Mark. Was it Mark?
That was Mark.
Yeah.
2. Season 2.
Yes. B, second.
I knew
Second.
that. I knew that.
You knew that one?
Me too. That's the only
Darn.
one.
That's
the only
because
one
you're
I
working
actually
on
knew.
your beard, so you're obsessed with all things.
That's right. Exactly.
Question number 4. Q is responsible for introducing the crew of the Enterprise D to which race? A, Andorians, B, Borg, C, Dominion, or D, Bolians?
Connor.
Ooh.
Borg? Did Q do that? It's the only one. That's all I got.
No.
Andorians? No, Andorians are in the original series.
Yeah. No.
What are they? The Dominions? The Dominions.
Mark.
Wrong.
Sorry.
Q introduces the crew of the Enterprise D to the Borg.
Really?
You had it right.
Wait a minute. The Borg, I thought the Borg had their own. Q wasn't in that movie when we first
They started on the show.
It was in season
I'm telling you, I've never seen it.
It was in season 2.
I won't know any of this.
I guess.
Ensign Gomez spills her hot chocolate on Picard, and he goes to clean it up. And he ends up on a shuttle craft in the middle of nowhere with Q. And Q gets pissed at him for being so arrogant as to assume that he knows what's out in space and that they're ready to experience it, and he sends them to the Borg.
Oh, Mark.
I stopped
Show
listening
off.
about halfway through. I'm sorry.
Borg core. What's the difference? Let's call the whole thing
We
Borg.
lost.
More like boring.
Question number 5. Last question.
God, sweating.
I know, right?
In Deep Space Nine, Chief O'Brien's wife, Keiko, is a station school teacher, but what is her trained profession? A, counselor, B, astrophysicist, C, terraformer, or B, botanist?
Honor.
Honor.
I don't know.
Terraformer.
Terraformer or astrophysicist? She's on a ship. She was. What's a terraformer?
You're asking me.
Jesus. Let's go with terraformer.
Okay.
Mark.
Oh God. Help us.
Astrophysicist.
Botanist.
Correct. It's botanist.
Well, I love this game.
Isn't a botanist
Ran
a
the botany lab
terraformer?
on the Enterprise in the Next Generation, and when she gets to Deep Space Nine, there's nothing for her to do, so she starts school teaching, and then she becomes a botanist again at some point in the show.
Again, I stopped listening halfway through. I didn't
La la
catch
la
all
la
that.
la la la.
Well, I'm glad though that you were able to.
She's the reason I like orchids.
And
Oh.
you and Nana won this yesterday?
They did well.
shockingly, I don't know how.
It's not typical.
No, that was the second time.
Oh,
Connor and Denise were playing for Slack Twaddle. Thank you, Slack Twaddle.
Right.
Slack Twaddle is one of our Patreon members.
Thank you for being a great Patreon member.
Thank you. Sorry.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Next, we're playing on a deserted island with Connor Trenier. Connor, you want to explain what we're doing?
Yes. So you're not with me on the island. You're on the island yourself for the rest of your life, and you are allowed 4 things. You're allowed your favorite author, all of their work. You're allowed a dessert, whatever one you pick. You get all of them. Maybe it's cake. You get all cakes. Your musician, you get all of their work, and your cuisine, French, Mexican, yada, yada, yada. So, who would be your author?
Oh my goodness. I mean, who comes to mind, because I would have to be there for a long time, I would imagine. Have a lot of,
Forever.
oh, Shakespeare.
You can come with me now. We can be on the island together.
Maybe you could be on the island with me.
All right. So then, musician.
Ooh, musician. I'm leaning towards like Carlos Jobim, Brazilian.
I was
All
going
of
to say
his work.
whom?
Carlos Jobim.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Just beautiful listening,
Yeah.
classical
Like
Spanish,
guitar?
but yeah,
Yeah.
bossa nova.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay. I'm not sure we're going to be on the island anymore, but that's a great.
You would?
You think?
I'll play my phone and you'll hear
Okay.
it.
Now, what are we at? Dessert.
Dessert. Oh, ice cream.
We can be on the island together. And cuisine.
Just one kind of cuisine forever and ever and ever.
Yum, yum, yum.
Well, boy, I know that if I said Italian, I'd be the size of a house. I'm gonna say Japanese.
Oh. Yeah.
That's a first.
That's a
Nice.
Yeah.
and it's also
We're going to have a great time.
And I'll be thin.
Me
Without
too.
the ice cream. I got to counter that ice cream. Yeah.
Well, on this island, nobody gets
Nobody
fat.
gets. Oh,
No,
okay.
No.
Well, why didn't you tell me that? Then pizza.
Just pizza.
Denise, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. I was so looking forward to this.
Oh,
Thank you, Denise.
me too. I think we had some good stories.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
great.
We do have one more. Me? Oh, God, what did I do? I did
creamed
nothing.
us.
I know.
Oh, at trivia?
we got goose egged.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Connor does have a gift for you.
Yes.
We have
No.
Figured.
You remember.
Just to get ready for the cruise. A bottle of Casamigos Blanco.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you,
welcome.
precious. Yes, we have some history with this.
Yes, we do.
And we're going to Mexico
That's right.
this time.
That's right.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Yeah, well, thank you again.
Thank you, sweetheart. That's so kind.
Yay.
So sweet.
What a fun thing.
Thank you.
Oh, bless you. Bless you. Like, subscribe, and join us on Patreon.